I assume.
I think we are. I think we're alive. I think we're alive.
I'm alive, so that's the main thing.
The button. So, yeah. Sorry, everyone. Hello. Yeah, we just welcome back to another episode of Gamers Initiative Podcast. We just distracted them because Elizabeth Olsen was just nominated for
An Emmy for her role in WandaVision. Yeah.
WandaVision. That's great. Yes, we're sort of just talking about that just as we're about to go live. Welcome back to another episode of Gamer Initiative Podcast. We're at episode 25. I think I named the last podcast wrong. I think so. We've got episode 23s. This is number 25, and thank you for joining us. If you are there, I don't think you did you put this out on Twitter? Sorry, let me introduce Red Dead Panda first. As always, Red Dead Panda.
Yes, out on Twitter.
Yes, right on Twitter. I'm going to bounce that out as well.
Yep, it's out on Twitter. Thanks for the lovely introduction. So you're here for episode 25 of the Gamers Initiative podcast with myself and EliteGamingGuru as hosts.
Yeah, it's really shit.
You can find us on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are in the background on the stream. You can also find us on YouTube, so Red Dead Panda Gaming on YouTube, and you can also find me on Xbox Live at Red Dead Panda 871. But what have I been up to this week, Elite? I have been playing some indie games. I literally just finished the Artful Escape. So that just released. It's a short game. So enjoyable. Thoroughly loved it. Actually was super surprised by how much I enjoyed the game. I made sure that I got all the achievements because it was a really easy way to get all the achievements, me being a bit of an achievement whore. But absolutely thoroughly loved it. Was surprised. The music in it was beautiful. And they announced it 2 years ago? Felt like 2 years ago, and now it's finally released. And I started to play got back into some Forza Horizon 4, because I haven't played a lot of that game, but I really love racing games. So yeah, I haven't been doing much. Watched the new episode of What If. Have you watched the new episode of What If, Elite?
I've not. No. I don't know what one I'm up to. So the last one I watched was Doctor Strange. I think it was.
Like 2 behind, I think.
No.
Yeah.
It can't be.
Yeah, there's been like another 2 since the Doctor Strange one. Yeah.
No, that is not.
Pretty sure.
Name them. Doctor Strange.
So there's the Captain America one.
Yeah, that's the first one.
Have you watched? Yeah. Have you? Have you watched the zombie one yet?
Yeah. Watch that one.
Okay.
Was that after Doctor Strange or before it?
I thought that was after Doctor Strange. The most recent one is about Killmonger, which you won't have watched yet.
Oh right, no, I've watched it. Not watched that one. Killmonger.
No.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
Killmonger's the guy from Iron Man or from Black Panther?
No, look, Black Panther. So
right,
he's the son of the uncle, so he's like a prince technically.
Yeah. So what's the guy in Iron Man? The villain in Iron Man.
The Bronx. I don't know.
What's that?
He is a bit. He becomes like if you watch the What If episode, he becomes a bit of a villain to Iron Man. But he's more of just a villain to everyone in general because he's all about self-serving himself. Yeah.
Oh, so I need to watch that. Okay. No, I like the Doctor Strange one. The Doctor Strange episode was really good. I really enjoyed that one. That was really sort of dark, and it was quite sort of epic. I thought it was really good, that one. It was quite sad and dark.
Yeah. But what have you been up to, Elite? What games have you been playing?
Right. So I've played, which released today, Origami 2, which is, I don't think it's exclusive to Xbox, because obviously it's on Game Pass Day 1. What I'm thinking so far, not as good. Actually, it's very basic. Nothing that I thought it'd be. I thought it'd be better than it was, to be honest. I thought it'd be much more up to par with more coming. It does remind me more of a 360 game, to be honest. It seems a bit dated and it's quite slow and the combat's a bit dreary. I'm going to give it a little bit longer. I'll play it for another hour. As I said, my attention span drops really quickly on games if it doesn't entertain me within the first hour or so. So I'll give it
Yep.
another hour. Otherwise, I might quit it. But I wanted it to be more like, I can't remember the other game that came out, the fighting game that's more like, what's that seafood that's coming out?
Absolver.
Absolver. Yeah, I thought it'd be more like that. I wanted it to be more quick, fast paced, and sort of more like that. But it's not. It just seems really dated. I don't know why.
Indie game.
Yeah, probably could be an indie game. So
I mean, saying that indie games are amazing, but sometimes
yeah,
you really miss with
you
them, and that's
you
what I
sound
like
like a
about
Sony
Game Pass.
fanboy saying indie game. So I'm sorry. Red Hope
Oh,
just get out there.
living up.
That's the kind of
It's
thing
on
they would
Game
say.
Pass.
It's not a blockbuster.
Boy.
It's not a AAA blockbuster. It's rubbish. It's
It's not a
trash.
30 FPS story-driven game.
Yeah.
Third person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Press X to complete.
Um,
Oh, my heart.
but that's the thing, like that's what I've been enjoying with Game Pass. Is like I've played so many indie games that I would have never even looked at before and been thoroughly impressed by them.
Well, that is the point. That is the point, because I was listening to Boom Show today. Because usually when I drive, I sort of drive a lot, and I was driving, I listened to podcasts. I was listening to Booms, I was listening to RJX before that. Then went on to Griffin Game, no, not Griffin Game, it's Ritanga's recent one about a subject we'll get on to later on. And then went on to Boom's thing, and they was talking about Stalker 2 on there. And, yeah, as you said, Stalker 2, normally, I would not pay £60, or if I had a PS4, £80 for Stalker 2. Because it's not my style of game. I don't really like the single player narrative games. But it's on Game Pass, so I'm most definitely going to play it, download it, and play it. Which then gives money to the devs. That's how the subscription works. And but yeah, that's exactly the same example. That because they're on Game Pass, it does open up the opportunity for more people just to try games, just to download games, try them, play them. And and I can't really see the negative of that to developers, which obviously a certain fan base see that as a negative for some reason. They would rather just not buy the game and the developer get no support whatsoever than people actually just try the game.
Well, that narrative is still coming up where like we still don't support the developers enough. And, because we're now talking about Psychonauts.
Well, that is it. Psychonauts 2, yeah, because they put up. Why are they still putting up sales of games that are on Game Pass?
I put in a message saying, does that show digital sales? Does that show sales on PC? Does that show sales that does that show people who bought the game from off Game Pass or who just played the game on Game Pass? And they're like, it shows digital sales. I'm like, well, can you link it to me, please? Because I would like to see this because I don't believe you. But yeah, I think it's interesting.
He actually says at the bottom of it, Xbox digital sales not included, and the Psychonauts 2 could only be purchased digitally if you Google it. There was no physical copy of the game, so so why are people questioning why the sales are on it? I just don't get it. But then even if it wasn't, it's on Game Pass on PC and Xbox. So why would the sales be high? People are still playing the game, supporting the game, and the developers are still getting the game because Microsoft own the studio anyway, so they've already paid the developers to make the games. It's not that the developers are missing out on anything. It's all as if Microsoft says, make this game for free, bitches, and then we're going to put it on Game Pass, and then if you don't make any sales or no one buys the game, you make nothing. It's not like that kind of scenario. They own the developers, and they're putting their games onto Game Pass. It's just it's exactly the same as Netflix. I'm confused why people, I'm ranting here, people, morons like Swedish Gaming, are still confused how services work. It's in 2021, people Google services, subscription services, how they work, because I can't understand how people can't actually grasp how they still don't work, and everyone's going to subscription service anymore.
I mean, I haven't supported the dev by playing it or downloading it yet because I want to finish the first game and then I'll get on to Psychonauts 2. But do you know what I have done this week, Elite? I finally got the last achievement on Hellblade, and it was frustrating. So this was actually really, really frustrating. Was if you had completed the game on the Xbox One X or whatever, the Xbox One, and then you reloaded it up on next gen, I think. If you accidentally created a new game, you couldn't go back into chapter select until you'd gone and completed certain sections.
Yeah.
So if I'd done that, I wouldn't have bothered because I didn't know chapter select was coming out. I wouldn't have bothered to start a new game because I would have had access to chapter select immediately. I literally had to play through the whole game again. I didn't have to do the last bit because I got the last like lodestone or wallstone, whatever they are. So I didn't have to complete the last fight section or sequence. But it was just really frustrating. I was like, oh, I wish that we had known that this was coming, so I wouldn't have bothered to have to replay the game through a whole second time. I mean, I loved replaying the game, but I was just like, because it was just one thing I was missing, and it was right at the end of the game, it made it a bit annoying. However, Artful Escape is chapter select because I missed one achievement on my playthrough, and then I went back and grabbed that achievement, and it took me like 5 seconds. It was great.
Excellent. I was just going to say as well, I've gone back to Conan, even though I put so many hours in that game, because I love hours. But not because I was sort of chose to, is that...
Issue?
Yeah, so sorry everyone, I've not really actually got a cold. It's a heart condition that I have. Too long a story to go into on a podcast. But anyway, what it is, Conan. Yeah, I've gone back to it not because I was really looking. I wanted to start playing other games, but I've had a couple of people message me on this and they need help on there. Because what happens is, like, I was quite good at the game and I used to raid people and do things like that and take out people and wipe out people. And I've had a couple of people that are in the game, there's alphas coming in the game and they're going around the servers, bullying people, so they want me to help out. So I've actually gone back into it to sort of wipe out some of the alphas and just take out people. So I'll probably do some videos on that actually, taking out some of the alphas. I've done videos previously, just infiltrating and taking out sort of big boss players. I think they're really good. But anyway, yeah, so that's why I've been playing Conan as well. But anyway, should we get into... We've not even mentioned our topics. We've gone really off topic.
We have. We're just rambling while people slowly join in.
Let us know
welcome
in the comments if you'd like to hear us rambling in the future. If you'd like to hear us talk about anything and not actually have any topics, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Not that we've got anyone watching at the moment.
There are 5 watching at the moment, so there you go. Welcome everybody. Alright, well our first topic, Elite, is the rumoured Xbox an acquisition announcement. So this has been all over Twitter the last week with people posting up on Twitter and then deleting those posts. And what are your thoughts on possible announcements for acquisition for Xbox?
Right, so yeah, I've seen loads of possible acquisitions and things. I've seen where was it posted recently? There was Square. They said which one would you choose if you could have all one of these four, and I think the options were you see that too. Ubisoft, Square Enix, Take Two, and who was the other one?
Sega,
yeah. Oddly, WB Games was on there. The option. So I think I replied is that I wouldn't even consider Square Enix. I don't think they're good enough to even Microsoft even bother with or waste their money on. I wouldn't bother. I don't mind even on the list. Go away Square Enix, no one cares. Ubisoft, possibly, that might be an interesting purchase. I'm not sure if just Ubisoft are just doing alright on their own at the moment.
I think they're doing fine. I mean, they're not Activision. I think Activision just so Activision Blizzard have just kind of shot themselves in the foot with bad press. So
well that is that. But then I don't think Microsoft would want that bad press from Activision. If they took them all on to out on, would that sort of throw over into Microsoft? Yeah, I think Microsoft are like, we just just go away and die, Activision. Just go and die.
Blizzard, get away from Activision and free yourself. That's all we care about. Is Blizzard, free yourself.
And I think it'd be good for everyone if just COD died for a few years, especially then, because it's just the same monotonous thing every year.
Repetitive. Are there any acquisitions that you would like to occur?
Sega would be interesting, but there's loads. But Sega would be interesting by. It'd be a bit of outfield there because some of the games there. It would actually that would affect PlayStation a lot more because a lot of the Sega games are things like Persona and stuff like that, and sort of games that at the moment are sort of exclusive to PlayStation. So that would be an interesting purchase. I think that would help PlayStation more. Take Two would be interesting, would be ideal. I just don't see them doing it. I just don't see them.
I don't see it either.
Unless Microsoft do another Bethesda style, have 10 billion, bosh, then I'm not sure. I don't think they'll do it. Which I can see, because I mean, until they did that to Bethesda through 7.5 billion at Bethesda, you would think that, don't be stupid. But because they've done that, I would not surprise me, because personally, if I had the money to spend, and I had Xbox backing and Microsoft backing, and I had everyone backing me, I would Take Two would be my choice, because I would say, look, we need people in Game Pass, as many people in Game Pass. We need the subscription services to work, just like Netflix, just like Prime does, just like Disney does. They're all doing exactly the same thing. They said we need to make these games exclusive to Game Pass. We want everyone in Game Pass. The best way you can do that is pick up the biggest gaming franchises that everyone subscribes to, and that is games like GTA and who did they do with GTA, didn't they?
Take Two to GTA, Rockstar.
Yeah, and Red Dead 2.
Red Dead, yep.
Yeah, games like that. That's the games of casuals. Casual gamers are not involved in this console war, not involved in any of this. The casual gamers...
You just sink hours into it.
Yeah, sink hours into these games. And that's what they need. Because at the moment, Game Pass has Bethesda, which is great, and you got Fallout and things that brings in some of that casual gamer fan base. But they're probably not fully aware of Game Pass. But I think if you get big hitters like Red Dead in there and GTA and stuff like that, then it is game over. It's game over.
Yeah.
Everyone would go, oh, it's in Game Pass. What's Game Pass? And then they'd look up Game Pass, see the deal, buy into Game Pass day one, buy into Xbox or the Xbox ecosystem, which is Game Pass or PC, and that is worth, I think, throwing 7 to 10 billion into. I think just for that alone, I reckon.
Even think Xbox. I mean, it would be nice if they had another publisher, but I don't think they need another publisher.
No.
I mean, I really don't. In my opinion, we're going to hear the announcements for acquisitions anyway, so it's the amount of rumours going on, the back and forth, just let it sit and let Xbox surprise you with their announcement. That's what I think is going to be the big thing, because PlayStation has come at Xbox about organic growth, and then they've done the opposite of what they have said that they were doing. So it's interesting to watch. But like I said time and time again, the only real studio that I want Xbox to acquire at the moment would be Asobo.
Yeah.
Who did Flight Sim, who did A Plague's Tale, who's done many other games. They have a good history of working together with Xbox, and I think they would be a great acquisition to help grow them further, because they've been Xbox has been very supportive around them.
They're the smallest studios, like Crytek. I like them to buy Crytek. I'd like to see Rise 2. I'd like to see Crytek.
Yeah, because I think growing so quickly as they have, they need to be able to manage that, and I feel like they need to get a couple of games out in relation to Bethesda and such before they decide to go any further and really purchase another big publisher. So growing smaller studios is probably the best bet while they learn to tackle everything moving forward. Because a lot of these studios that Xbox have all work together in relation to helping each other release games, or certain mechanics or feature sets, or anyone who's really good at doing something at that studio, can you show us how you did it so we can add that into our game and such. So it's very much collaborative in the way that they run the Xbox game studios. But I still think if we had a big publisher, that's going to put a big wrench in the work of what Xbox is doing, because the reason why they went with Bethesda's ZeniMax acquisition is because they have that 20-year history with that developer or with that publisher, so they know what they're getting. They know the type of environment, the culture and climate of that publisher itself, so they're not having to change too much around that, because it aligns with what Xbox and Microsoft want to do. So I don't necessarily know that the acquisitions that people are wanting for Xbox to kind of shut down PlayStation, and we don't need to shut down PlayStation at this point. 23 studios versus 14. There's no no question there. People are now complaining about how Xbox studios, Bethesda and like ZeniMax acquisition aren't proven studios. They've got proven history from years and years of the games that they've released. Yes, not every studio that releases a game is gonna release a perfect game. They're gonna get some hits, they're gonna get some misses. But to say that they're unproven is a bit rubbish and a bit short-sighted, and it's a way to damage control and deflect away from the win that is the fact that Xbox has 23 studios. So I don't think we need another publisher. I think we need to grow more, like, be more selective. Like, Xbox needs to be a bit more selective about how they choose to add to their current massive studios, because they need to make sure that that is the right fit for what they're currently creating with Game Pass, with the culture and climate and conduct and everything like that. So I think that's how they're going to build off. I mean, there might be a publisher in future, but I don't think we really need to go into too much detail around that, because Xbox is going to announce an acquisition when they announce it, and I'd rather it just be a surprise than everyone kind of speculating on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but though, going back to it though, as I was saying, if you're trying to sell a service, and I think I don't think it's actually one way. I think Game Pass would also suit sort of the GTA game. If you stuck GTA in Game Pass, I think to them, because if you think about GTA, they make a game. Like the GTA 5 came out from the 360, it came out 2 generations ago. They're quite happy to make a game and then just live off the microtransactions, aren't they? That's what they basically do.
You've got GTA, then you've got GTA Online, and I think GTA Online, being, if it was on Game Pass, free to play, and then all you have to do is pay for microtransactions. Like, that would be the way that you would destroy and make a huge earning from that respect. But
which is basically what the game plan of Game Pass is. That's what I'm thinking that GTA would perfectly suit Game Pass. You would put GTA in Game Pass. People would buy the game because people buy the game because they love it. They keep buying the game. Some people bought it like 10 times because they're weird. But the thing that would feed Game Pass and then would be the absorption of Game Pass, how many people are in it, and all buying into the. Especially the game is free as well. The game is free, or not necessarily free, but you know what I mean. But it's not £70-80. Then you would just start. People think, oh, I'm going to buy microtransactions, because that's what happens. That's how it feeds the developers. They buy microtransactions, and you feed into microtransactions, and that's really what those developers want, I think.
Hi, Unlimited Production. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, hello, mate. You alright? Hello.
Yeah.
Unlimited Production. Let's get you on the show sometime.
Yeah, we will. We've got a lot of people to get on the show, but eventually. It's hard with our time difference, guys.
Yeah,
it's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's letting it back. Yeah, because I'm in the UK and Red Panda is in New Zealand.
In Middle Earth.
Yeah, Middle Earth. Yeah. So it's just awkward to get, and a lot of our audience and friends and people we're aimed at are in America, so that means they're either 6 hours behind me, which puts them about 24 hours behind you, or something stupid like that. It's just
basically
weird. Yeah. It's just
I'm in the future, guys.
Yeah.
And Xbox announced. No, I'm kidding.
Premiere.
But I think that's all I really want. Like, is there anything else we want to talk about that topic?
No. What was I going to say? Yeah, so I think it personally, going forward, it would be a great acquisition by Microsoft. I can see why they would do it, and I could see why Take-Two would take it, because Game Pass would ideally feed their microtransaction sort of nature, which they prefer, and I think that would be good for both sides. And as I said, they need as many people into Game Pass as possible, and that game in Game Pass would just kill everything. I think if that was and only in Game Pass on Xbox and PC, not on PlayStation. GTA. Can you imagine if GTA wasn't on PlayStation anymore? How many people would just automatically transist over to Xbox or PC? Pretty
sure that would be the end of days for PlayStation. Just saying, because the amount of consoles that are sold there is your dedicated fan base.
Yeah, which include
Then
which is
there's the
COD and
casual
FIFA as well.
gamers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, like I said, I think at this point we don't need a big publisher. I think we just need like Xbox just needs to grab some of those smaller ones and make sure that they match exactly what they're wanting to do with the Microsoft studios moving forward. I think they've got an idea and a plan and a culture and climate that they want to hit. And I think acquiring another publisher, they have to be really selective. So wait and see. I mean, if there's an acquisition coming, there's an acquisition coming. Shout out to Mr. Kima for also joining us. Hello. But yeah, moving on. So you haven't watched this yet, have you? So both Digital Foundry and Gaming Nexus did videos each, and then they kind of collaborated with this, and they did a deep dive around the thermals on the new PS5 model. So we're just going to be talking about that. If you haven't watched that video, I recommend giving it a look. But basically, from what they've said is, the system itself, the actual memory modules, which is like your RAM and such, are being more efficiently cooled because the last time Gaming Nexus did a teardown, one of the modules wasn't actually being cooled and it was sitting at a thermals, which aren't ideal. Yes, it's still within what the oh my god, why can't I think of the word for it? What the component producers, I can't think of the word for it, have set out in parameters that it still can run at that. But anytime you run a component at a higher temperature, it tends to reduce its life cycle and lifespan, as we've talked about in previous cast. Yeah. So he said that they're being more efficiently cooled. He said they're still not in a good, like, there's still a bit of a concern at the temperatures they're hitting, but it's nothing to overly worry about at this point. He also said the difference between the launch edition and the new SKU isn't enough to comparatively go one is better than the other. I actually should be fine purchasing one or the other. But what they have said is that the SoC is actually running warmer. So that's your system on chip. That's the part you don't want to be running warmer. So that is running warmer than it was previously. It's I don't know, it's hard to talk about, like, break it down and go which console is better because they're both comparatively similar. Yes, one of the big things talked about when Xbox first, I know jumping to Xbox, but when Xbox Series X was first announced and people were complaining about the exhaust heat coming out of the console and saying, oh, that means that your console's running really hot, it means your console's going to get set on fire, it's going to be melting. And it was just like, the sky is falling, why would you buy an Xbox? And then the argument to that was, well, it's exhausting this heat out, so it's actually sufficiently cooling the system. I would rather have that heat out of the system than sitting in the system. So one of the things in Austin Evans did the video when he took the thermal shot of the exhaust on the PS5, it was warmer, yes, because some of the components are running warmer, but it's also exhausting a lot more hot air out of the system, so it is more efficiently cooling the system around that side. I'm still concerned about the SoC. The other factor is the fan. Yes, it runs quieter. It's a more efficient fan, so it is an improvement that way. I'm still not sold on the PlayStation 5 SKUs, regardless of the launch edition or the new SKU. I want to wait for more of a revision because, in my opinion, I do not like the temperature reading for your memory modules for your RAM. I don't like the fact that the SoC is running warmer. That's the bit that, like, if that goes, your whole system goes. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this? Is this something, because you and I are both, like, don't want to pull the trigger on the PS5 at this point.
And I've said now, and because of the game status, where they are games, which all the games seem to do cross-gen and remaster at the moment, I think I am definitely... We did speak about this, didn't we? We was definitely going to get PS5 at launch, we'll be looking to get it, and then because of the games that come out and yada yada, all the other stuff, we thought we'd hold out. PS5 Pro is what I'm probably looking at to get now. I think I can hold out.
You mean the PS6?
The mid-gen refresh. I think I will
skip a generation.
Yeah, or maybe even skip a generation, which is what I did last generation. I might even skip another generation.
Who knows?
Yeah, but I did that video on it because I think the big issue, Well, firstly, I feel sorry for Austin. I like Austin. I think Austin should come out, and these people that call him a liar should ask if he can go have a one-on-one podcast with them and just ask,
Yeah.
why did you call me a liar? And then just come out with their nonsense and go, I didn't actually lie at all in any of my thing. What's your next narrative? I think he should do that. You know, for some of these people that open, especially some of the big people like Review Tech and things like that openly call him a liar. I think he needs to out them or just come out and go, just say, I'll come on your podcast. If you want to debate, let's talk about this. But but I think, as I talked about on one of the comments ago, the issue is the overclocking. The system is overclocked, and I think that's what kind of Austin was getting at. Because basically, Austin was right. The system is worse than the original system, is it not?
Well, if you watch the videos, they talk about how it consumes more power.
Yeah.
So
that's
yes, it consumes more power because the fan is running more efficiently, faster, and such. So it's but the way it's set up. The way it's set up is, regardless of the console you've got, because there's never you're going to get slight variance and differences between the systems, just the way it is when you build up your SoC and all of that. But where was I going with this? I don't know. Basically, it doesn't perform differently in relation to games. So, regardless of the system you're set at, the system is going to run at a specific frequency for the components and everything like that. Yeah. The cooling has to make sure it's sufficient enough to cool it running at those higher temperatures, because there's no thermal throttling. So it doesn't throttle when the components get too hot and slow down performance. It just moves power to wherever it needs to be. So regardless of that, your system's running hot. So it has to effectively cool the system because of the fact it has to run at specific frequencies. So there's no, like I said, there's no thermal throttling. So like Xbox is set up, if you overheats, it overheats and it'll shut itself down, whatever. Like that's how PCs work. That's how consoles have worked prior to that. Yeah. The fact they've taken away the thermal throttling concerns me a little bit. So that's why they've got the robust cooling that they've got in there with the liquid metal, because you're running these components at set temperatures consistently. I think we're going to maybe run down later in line and see that there's going to be a lot more of these consoles failing the longer they're out in the market.
Yeah.
The longer they're in use.
My only
What's up, Afterblast?
My only concern with the thing of the question is that also I'm still going to go with it's overclocked. The machine is overclocked, and that is a worry.
It's 100% overclocked.
Especially PC gamers. Any PC gamer will know that overclocking hardware is great, but it's limiting. It will destroy your hardware quicker, and that's why I'm thinking Sony quite happy just to keep rolling out new consoles to keep sort of to avoid the backlash of everyone's machines just breaking down. But the liquid cooling, you mentioned liquid cooling. When they've ever brought down the system, I've never actually seen the liquid cooling.
What do you mean? Oh no, the liquid metal. Sorry, liquid metal.
The liquid metal cooling. Yeah, because PCs generally have the
thermal paste.
Yeah, the water cooling, don't they? Not liquid metal cooling.
So they've got the what is it called? They've got the system with the pipes. I can't think of what they're called. I know the name of it. It's sitting somewhere in my brain. So you've got your heatsink and you've got your pipes that are running water through them, whatever it is, to kind of when they get hot, it goes to the other end and then it cools down. It goes back around and it's pulling heat away from the chip and such. Yeah, like there's better contact on the chips and the motherboard with the heatsink now than there was on the previous model. But on the actual SoC, on the actual chip on the system, there is liquid metal sitting on that. Right. And that, yes, has a better conductivity around heat, so it can dissipate and take more heat away from the chip, which, if they didn't have liquid metal on the chip now, with the way they've revised the actual heatsink and the copper and all of that, I would be super concerned about the system. The fact, if it had thermal paste, the fact it's got liquid metal is better. I'm still not overly fussed. Like I said, I'm gonna wait. I want to see a new revision, one where it kind of puts my mind at ease about how I understand about how thermals work and components work and things under load and all of that. Yeah, I think it's good news that we've got the deep dive, because you've got more perspective. I'm just still not overly fussed on the idea of them revising it in this matter. I mean, if it was fine to do that, why wasn't this a launch model? Like, why did you basically give these people like beta test consoles because you guys hadn't sussed out your cooling in time,
Well, basically,
efficient cooling in time? Yeah.
Why did Sony come out and do a big presentation on PowerPoint saying this is the next gen console, is incredible, there is no fault to it, yada yada yada, we're doing this, doing that, and less than a year later you revise that. I don't see why Genius or God would do that, because that's what they called him, why he would do that. And then as you also said, there will be I see another revised model of this in a year's time, and if it just keeps rolling on, if they're just going to keep revising it, that's just awful. And I don't know how they're going to get away with that. I think the media's letting them get off as it is right now at the moment. Austin's getting a lot of slack, a lot of trouble, which really Sony should be getting trouble for. Everyone's sort of completely just deflected off Sony that have just brought out a new model, a cheaper model. It is a cheaper version of the original console, which they're still selling for the same price as the original console. It's not like cheaper, but it's using cheaper parts.
Yeah.
And
usually revisions result in slightly better designs. Like they'll go in and fix it. Like, I mean, you look at the revisions that were done on last generation between the Xbox One, the Xbox One S, and the Xbox One X. Those revisions were very clear. Like, they went overboard on trying to make sure they kept the system cool on the Xbox One in comparison to what they did with the Xbox 360 because of the Red Ring of Death. And then they realized that actually, if we get in and engineer it properly and redesign these consoles, we're going to have better cooling, better efficiency, and we can actually improve clocks in relation to the console as well. So I think I'm of the mindset, like, if you're going to revise it and you're going to make these drastic changes, because adjusting the heatsink and the copper and all of that is a drastic change in relation to how thermals work in a system, any type of component. Like, you have to take that into account. Logic and math and what we know about technology basically explains that for you. But for them to be charging the same price, that's concerning. I'm like, it's definitely a revision. You've made some changes, yet you're still charging the same price. Yeah. And I mean, they're trying to increase because at the end of the day, they are a business. They're trying to increase their profit margin that way because they can use, like, they're now making a profit on the system. But I don't think this is the right way around it. I mean, both Digital Foundry reached out to PlayStation to comment on the new system. They haven't heard anything about it. PlayStation has been dead silent. You release a new model that is this, like, that difference in weight and stuff, you should actually be talking about it to your consumers. The fact that you've had to go through all of this waiting on Gaming Nexus, Digital Foundry, like Austin Evans, everyone else to tell us what the difference was, they had to tear down the system. That is stupid from a marketing point of view, and from a company where they have been so closed and tight-lipped about everything to do with the system. Just be transparent and tell your consumers what they're buying.
You know why?
And whether or not this impacts them. Yes, it doesn't impact the performance of the games whatsoever. No. Tell people that.
Yeah. But because Sony won't do it because they don't care at the end of the day. They'll release a cheap, low-budget console for the same amount as the last one. Yes, it doesn't impact the games, but it's too irrelevant. You can't just slip in a new revised console, which is using different parts than the original, but you're selling it's the same price, and not just not say anything. Just think, it's alright, screw it. Imagine you bought a car. Car's gone on the market. Imagine you bought a Ferrari. Your mate bought a Ferrari, and a year later you thought, oh, that's a lovely Ferrari, I'm going to buy a Ferrari. and then someone sold you a Ferrari, and as you're driving it off, you thought, oh, these wheels are different. They go, yeah, we've put cheaper wheels in it. Okay. Yeah, we've put cheaper seats in it, we've put cheaper this in it, cheaper that in it. Okay, can I have a discount? No, it's the same price as the one your mate bought. And you'd be like, what? You'd be like, wouldn't you? You'd be, what would be going with this? I want it cheaper, surely. You at least should announce this thing. You shouldn't be just palming cheap stuff out, or just even making alterations without making an official announcement about it. That's just bad. Just bad people. That's what I've got.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting. If you haven't watched the videos, watch the videos. About the system. Yes.
What?
The fan's better. It uses more power.
Yeah.
The memory modules are cooled a bit better. They're still not in a great place. And the SoC's running warmer at the end of the day, and that's the bit you don't want running warmer. Yeah. So that's my concern there. I think PlayStation just need to be transparent and tell it like it is, but they don't want to upset their fan base, especially after that Horizon Forbidden West stuff last week. Yeah.
So
anyway,
should we move on to the next topic?
Yes.
Hello, Wild Horse, for joining the chat. Hello.
Yeah, thank
After
you.
bossing in now. Boy.
Yep.
Right, let's get.
I agree. Seems like the PS5 is cheaply made. Yeah. It looks like it is.
Yeah, you know what's weird?
It's also
that never really got brought up as well. When the original PS5 came out, the obviously the launch console, that it had different the components inside. Like the fan was different from console to console. It's like they would put out 10 consoles, but every other one they would throw in a cheaper fan. Did you were aware of that, wasn't you?
No, we talked about this on a previous podcast. I think that was because you remember how they were still saying that. Yeah, they were still. So the thing about the fan is they were still talking about how they were going to be testing and getting stats in from the fan to find out if they needed to make adjustments to its speeds and stuff, or as you were playing games for certain games and those sort of things, so they could like update it on the fly. I think they were testing 2 types of fans to find out which one is better, because now they've got a new fan design. So it feels like they were still asking PlayStation gamers to test their unit.
Beta testing.
Whereas, Xbox tested their fans, like the fans in their consoles consistently. You saw, if you watched any of the stuff about watching the Xbox Series X come to fruition, you saw all the different styles of fans that they designed and tested. Whereas I feel like PlayStation didn't do the same level, or it didn't have the same level of engineering and testing as the Xbox did in comparison. And this is where you're seeing these changes coming through, because I don't feel like the PlayStation 5 was ready to be released, and it shouldn't have been. They should have waited another year. They should have done more testing on it. But they couldn't wait another year because Xbox was coming in hot, and they didn't want to lose out on console sales, etc., etc.
Yeah, exactly. They annoy me. So annoy me. It's a shame, because I would like to buy.
You would have never guessed.
Because I feel sorry for, I like some of the developers. I like some of their games. I just don't like Sony.
Yeah.
And I don't like the fanboys.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
Yep.
Next
topic, Elite.
Yeah, next topic. Right, so this is a good one. Deathloop being review bombed by toxic fanboys, and we can guess who the toxic fanboys are. Now this is going all over Twitter, isn't it, at the moment? And you've got it was actually Sony fanboys started this topic and trying to blame Xbox gamers for it.
Yeah.
As Xbox gamers, it's come to their attention, have looked at it, and for one, the people that are giving the review bomb in this game are people like, I can't remember, there was I can't remember his name now, MLD something, there was Tim Dog, there was sort of prominent Twitter people on Twitter and
hey, Manuel.
YouTubers and things, and you're just thinking, these people are not review bombing this game at all. They're catfishing. These are PlayStation fanboys catfishing Twitter users. And it's clear as you go through the reviews on it, the user reviews. It's clear that they've just catfished Xbox gamers from Twitter and just using their names and just scoring this game 0 out of 10 and just slating the game. It's clear it's PS fanboys. It is absolutely clear. Because I've been linking into it, I've been finding people, and I was linking up Tim Dog today, I linked into it and said, Tim, is this you? And he said, no, that's not me. It's clear that it's not these people, Xbox gamers, that are doing this. It's PS4 gamers that are doing it. So PS4 gamers are review bombing Deathloop, but pretending they're Xbox gamers. And that is just weird and stupid and pathetic. Go Reds.
I think it is too. I mean, they're so fragile. Yeah, it just speaks to how fragile their egos are that they have to do that. I mean, we look at it and saying, like, some of the reviews are saying that because this is a Xbox studio that has designed this game. It was an Xbox studio when they made the game initially, guys. When the exclusivity deal came out, everything like that. As far as you guys were concerned, it was a third party. You were going to have a year-long exclusivity deal where we would have to wait for it to come to Xbox. But because it got acquired during the ZeniMax acquisition, you guys are now complaining about not wanting to support the developers. You're review bombing it, saying that you're not going to support the developer because it's an Xbox or Microsoft studio or Xbox gaming studio now. How stupid are you? Your narrative changes just like the wind changes. One moment you're saying support the devs, the next moment you're saying don't support the devs. Like, just play the game and make a decision for yourself as to whether or not it's a good game, regardless of the developer who's making it, who they work for. I mean, you look at MLB The Show, that was PlayStation Studio, right? It released on Xbox Game Pass day one. Did we complain that it was being made by a PlayStation studio? No, we got a game that had never been on Xbox before, and we got to play it as a community. And we didn't outright just review bomb the game because it was made by a developer that worked for a company that we may potentially don't necessarily enjoy or like overly, because there are a lot of people who prefer, like within our community, big Xbox fans don't really like PlayStation, but there are part of our community where they don't really mind, give us the games as long as it's good. I don't care about the developer who did it unless they're a bit shady. So we weren't going out and trashing MLB The Show. It just shows you the difference between the communities. Whereas we're willing to give it a chance, whereas there's part of their community which is very toxic, who just because it has Xbox attached to it as a tag, they don't want to play it. They don't want to have anything to do with it. They want to distance themselves from it. Do you know how stupid you sound right now as a community doing that? Because first off, there aren't very many games coming out for the rest of 2021 for PlayStation at all. Play the games that are available for you to play. And then shut the hell up. Don't review bomb a game just because it's made by a studio that you don't particularly want it to be made by. Play the game or not play the game. Let people enjoy it for what it is. And I think this isn't fair to Arcane Studios at all that this is happening. They've done nothing wrong. They've put hours and hours and hours into making this game. And for you guys just to be so stupid and finicky and so ego-minded that you can't see past that and play a game for the fact that it's a game, that really speaks to you as a person, as a community, that you're the problem here, not the developer. I mean, that talks about what happened, go straight into what happened with Redfall, where people were comparing an unfinished game that was in alpha as a playtest, comparing it to a released game. Like, if you want to compare games that haven't yet released, compare a game where there's, Horizon Zero Dawn and God of War, when they were first being developed and being tested for mechanics and everything like that. Games don't get pretty at the beginning of their life cycle. They get pretty at the end towards the release, because now they've worked out everything and now they're just making it the best game they can when they release it. So I think there's something seriously wrong with that part of the community. Hugely wrong with that part of the community.
Yeah, there is. It's a mental thing, isn't it? Let me just give a shout out to Emmanuel A1. We've got in chat now. Hello, Emmanuel. We've got Wild Horse, and we had Good Box as well. Was Good Box there? You saw that Good Box? Yeah, he's saying about review bomb the stage to look like Xbox fanboys. Yes, it's clearly that. It is clearly they're just doing that.
For them to stoop that low and create accounts to make it look like Xbox is review bombing, you really have a problem in your community. Like, PlayStation needs to call that rubbish out. Xbox calls that rubbish out. Like, on Twitter and stuff, they make jokes and stuff, but they do call it out when they think that there's this console war toxicity that doesn't need to be there. And I agree, it doesn't need to be there. And it's there because there's part of this community that can't use more than one brain cell. In my opinion, they're not a good part of the community. They don't replicate what it means to be a gamer because they're all about having one up. If they can pull you down, they'll pull you down. And Deathloop's caught in the crosshairs here, and I don't think it's fair. I don't think that's fair at all. I mean, you're not seeing it being review bombed on PC because it's released on PC. Like, whatevs.
It is. Should we move on? Because it is just
ties
boring.
Into the next topic.
And, it's boring. And
it frustrates me.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And these are the same people that talk about supporting developers.
Yep.
And then they're quite... And this game is exclusive to PlayStation 5 right now. But they're review bombing it as if it's going to get at Xbox. But it's just stupid and weird. And this kind of thing, when they do this kind of thing, you're thinking, this is what I was going to go at, actually. I forgot about that. When I was talking about if they got to take Take-Two into Game Pass. Because what they're seeing, how they're treating developers, PlayStation fanboys, how they're treating developers. They've been horrible to all developers, man. They're insulting them, they're giving death threats. If nothing goes their way, they go straight into the insults and death threats. And, and then like they did with Austin, where they doxed him. And they're doing that. That seems to be more sort of common now with PlayStation fanboys. And then I've got to say what I was going to get onto the point of Take-Two. Is I think if you get Take-Two in, I just forgot what I was going to say again.
You're doing what I do. You get so riled up, and then you're like,
I was thinking of something, and then I went off to something else, and then I just forgot what originally I was going to say. Shit. Right. Okay. We'll come
Canada,
back to it.
6:40 p.m. Hello Canada.
Canada.
Wild Horse. Hello.
Oh, that's not a bad time. That's a good time. Yeah.
That isn't a bad time. Yeah. I mean, this kind of leads in perfectly for our next topic anyway. Well, it's kind of a play on, like a follow-on topic. Is now we've got...
Really
You'll find it, and we'll probably talk about it later. So basically now, PlayStation, like the toxic part of the PlayStation community, are saying like Xbox gamers won't want to play Deathloop because of the 1-year exclusivity deal. So that's going to end at September 22. So they're saying like, why are you going to wait? Like when this game releases 1 year later, it's going to be old news. No one's going to play it. I think that is stupid as a talking point, because you and I discussed, was it last week or the week before when we had Dirt Griggity on?
Yeah.
And we were talking about how it might, I don't know. Was it the week before? I don't remember which week it was. And we were talking about how...
Actually. Or episode 23.
Yeah, no, I think it might have been last week because it was KOTOR, right? We were talking about KOTOR last week. Doesn't matter when this game releases, even if there's a 1-year exclusivity deal. It's up to the individual gamer as to whether or not they support the title. But for you to point out and say that, like, Xbox gamers are not going to support it, you guys are hyping up KOTOR remake, right?
Yeah.
How long ago did that game come out?
It's 20 years
come
ago.
out?
Yeah, it's 20 years.
Yeah. And for you to say that 1 year versus like 20 years or 11 years or whatever it is going to make a difference,
I've had this debate
it's not going to make a difference. Your thought or narrative there is stupid.
Yeah.
If anything, the way you're treating Deathloop, the way you're treating that developer, the way you're kind of like trying to catfish with review bombing with Xbox gamers, you're actually encouraging Xbox gamers to make sure they go out and support this game when it releases next year. We already support these titles. It's going to be on Game Pass. we're going to go out and actively support it to prove a point to you that our community is all about supporting games, gamers, and developers, and progressing it and moving it forward, because we want games to be here in the future. We want developers to feel like they can show their games and share it, and not feel like gamers are just tearing them down left, right, and center. Like, have a thought about what impact you guys are having on the community, what impact you guys are having on developers as a toxic part of your community. Like, call that shit out. Call it out. Because those people need to be banned. They can play their games on their PS5, but they don't need to be on Twitter having a voice, because their voice is, in my opinion, irrelevant and detracts away from what we do as gamers in general. But I think this narrative is stupid, this 1 year exclusivity, saying we're not going to play it when it releases next year in September. What are your thoughts on that, Elite?
What are my thoughts? Well, I've just thought about what I was thinking about earlier. So I just remembered what I was thinking about. Right, so my point on Game Pass was developers, right? So if you get Take-Two into Game Pass, right? So sorry everyone, just to keep sort of in the loop of where I'm going, because I've been going off all during tangent, and I'm trying to get back onto a point that I've sort of raised about half an hour ago. Basically, getting back Game Pass, which kind of is relevant to what we're talking about now, is if you get big devs like Bethesda and Take-Two into Game Pass. Game Pass at the moment I think is set about 23 million subscribers. That will go to 40 million. That will grow to 60 million. And then once you've got that base, you're going to have your third party devs, your big third party devs or second party devs, that are going to go, that they're going to release a game and go, yeah, I could release my game onto PlayStation for £80 or £70, and then hope it does well, or hope people buy it, or I could put it in Game Pass, which has 40 million, 60 million subscribers, and I know people download it. Regardless if they like it, they will download it and play it, and Xbox will feed me money. That would be the option. And now from a game, that's what the developers are thinking. From the gamers' point of view, gamers are thinking, I could buy it. I've got a PlayStation and an Xbox, or I could buy one or the other. I could buy this game for £70, or I could just play this game on Game Pass.
Yep.
What's my option?
Yep. Right.
That's what I was trying to get on earlier. And I think going to this is the sort of the same thing. They're missing the whole point of subscription services. Deathloop, it's going to release, I think it is next year. They said September next year. That's what I've read several times. September next year, Deathloop's going to release on Game Pass, and we're all going to download it. We are all going to download it, and we will download because there's a lot of issues with it. I've heard there's quite a few issues with the PC version, especially, and there is a couple of issues with the PS4 version. I don't know if it is true, because PlayStation fans just are, especially, going to just look for faults in it. Don't look for faults in their own games. All their own games is just perfect. They're looking forward to it. But I've got a feeling these games, by the time that stage, all these problems will be ironed out. Plus, there will be DLC that we'll be surprised about, which they include into it, which we will get for free on Game Pass. And I can pretty much guarantee everyone with Game Pass, considering its rating, considering how popular it is and how well it's done, will download this game day one and be playing it day one. And so do not worry that this game will be popular on Xbox. That's not your worry. It will be.
Yeah, some of the reviews I've been watching for channels I actually trust and appreciate their opinion in has actually, because this game didn't really make me feel anything for it. I wasn't really going to play this game. Watching those reviews and such, I'm now definitely going to try it next year when it comes out. Wild Horse just mentioned that they're changing the narrative, saying it's got a 2-year exclusivity deal. Anything to make them feel better about themselves. I think that's what's happening there. It's not going to be 2 years. I think we're more likely Ghostwire Tokyo is going to be 2 years probably. Just feels like that because it was clear that
Yeah,
Deathloop
that's
was
what
going to be a
I'm
1
saying.
year.
Yeah, they said that too.
Yeah. But for them to try and like change what is already clearly set out in stone that it's a 1 year exclusivity deal, it's like how they kept trying to play for the fact that Starfield was eventually coming to PlayStation. Like, how many different ways can we tell their community, and can Xbox tell their community, can anyone tell their community that when it said this, they mean this? It's like when a game on PlayStation is outright exclusive, never coming to any other console. It is, you take them at their word and you understand and accept that. 1 second, I just have to throw something at my cat. He's clawing the carpet.
Yes,
Oh my god.
kill that cat.
Cats. What was I saying? But I just think it's stupid. Like, you guys accept it immediately and take PlayStation at their word when they say it's exclusive. There's no doubt. You then come it down and trying to shove it down our throats that this game is exclusive. You're never gonna get it. The moment anything happens where like it's exclusivity deal, where it's like a timed exclusive, or it definitely is exclusive, you guys are trying to change that narrative every time to suit what you guys think it needs to be. I mean, talking about this game, saying like 1 year exclusivity deal is going to affect how many people play this game on Xbox. Not every PlayStation gamer is going to pick this up day one because of the $70 price tag. They're going to wait till it goes on sale. They might even wait a year and play it next year in September. So it doesn't really matter when a game releases. It matters when you choose to play it.
Yeah.
So everyone who's thinking like, oh, it's going to play day one, who fucking cares when you play it? You're going to play the game when it suits you. You're going to buy the game when it suits you. It's more of an incentive for Xbox gamers to get it via Game Pass because we don't have that $70 price tag attached.
Yeah. These flumps seem to forget that GTA 5 released a year later on PC, I believe. I'm pretty sure it released first on console than it did on PC. I think it didn't go to PC for another year. Anyone in the chat can confirm that, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Because I am the guru. But anyway, that was cheesy. But I'm pretty sure it did. And I'm pretty sure a lot of games do actually release on console before PC. Sort of the big buster ones. I think we might have Red Dead 2 might have been the same. Did Red Dead 2 release first on console? But PC gamers weren't like, no, we're not going to buy this game. We're not going to play this game now because it released first on console. No, because they were like, that's all right, we'll wait a year and we'll get the better version. Which they did. So, it's exactly the same scenario. Nobody will go, yeah, in a year later, I'm not going to play this game at all. This game looks fantastic and sounds fantastic and I really want to play it. I'm not going to play it because it was on another console first. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that.
Wild Horse also had a good point in the chat saying, like, Deathloop currently on PlayStation and such has decent scores. Will that change when it's released on Xbox? Are you seeing a trend of games that release both on Xbox and PlayStation, the difference in the Metacritic scores? I don't think overall it's going to change. I think the score itself might change based on how PlayStation gamers view the effectiveness of the DualSense controller.
Yeah.
But I think overall they're probably going to be very similar around what they score. So fingers crossed it doesn't impact overly. But I think when it releases on Xbox, you're probably going to still get some salty PlayStation people come in and try and review bomb it then, if they still care about it because they feel like they are being threatened to some degree.
I just want to big shout out to Tando. Welcome to the podcast, Tando. Hopefully we'll see you regularly on here. We're quite spoiled at the moment. We're trying to make it big, like massive big, like PewDiePie big. But
one day. Oh, one day.
I killed myself there. I lost the game.
I think that
my train of thought.
Yeah.
Well, no. What Wild was all about? Yes, about the reviews. The odd thing is about the reviews is that I had actually debate on Twitter about that because they were saying the debate came up about the scores, why the Xbox version was about 7 points lower than the PlayStation 5 version. Even though the Xbox version was better, it ran better in every way. Frame rates, resolution, everything. It ran better, but the PlayStation 5 version was scored higher. And the PlayStation fans were saying, yeah, because of DualSense. because it's got
Look at the
dual sets.
reviews.
But then you think, and then I come out and said, okay, fair enough, okay. So then why weren't Xbox games reviewed higher than PlayStation 4 games? Because the Elite controller, or because Kinect, or because its headset was better. You know, let's take headsets into account. Headsets can have a massive impact on games. Why are then headsets not taken into account on games? Yeah, I've played this game and I use this headset, so I'm going to score it 90. Yeah, I played this game and I use the headset, I'm going to score it 2 because my headset was just like a...
Well, the 3D audio.
Yeah, 3D audio, yeah. It's something, why do we not... If we're going to start taking peripherals into account on games now, then this got to be across the board. Like, what's
Keyboard and mouse. That's why you get the higher score.
Yeah. What's the big game? The big game was Alien, the Alien game on the Xbox One. Do you remember when it came out? It was the Alien game. The Isolation, yeah. Well, the Kinect allowed it to be able to hear and see you and smell you and things like that, didn't it? It done all sorts of special things on it. The Kinect allowed it because that's what Kinect's allowed. Obviously, PS4 didn't have that version. They still scored the same. No one said, yeah, the Xbox version's better because the alien can smell me. No one said that. There was no... The Elite controller came out in 2016. No one... And it's actually got, despite people not realising this, haptic feedback. You can all Google this. Off you go. Google it. Haptic feedback. Elite controller's actually got it. Not as precise, or it's not got the exact same thing as the...
Doesn't have the HD rumble. The
DualSense one.
Rumble.
But it is officially haptic feedback. It's the same thing. Not the exact same thing, but it is called haptic feedback. But no one was playing games and comparing it to them saying, yeah, they're like for like, but the Xbox deserves 5 more points because it's got the Elite controller. Nobody said that. That didn't happen. There was no such conversation. And I don't know why they're now just throwing that into the debate now. Why they're just upscoring upscoring PlayStation games based on its controller. It's ridiculous.
I think it's ridiculous. Who really understands the difference? I mean, you're noticing that the reviews, obviously, and probably when Deathloop releases next year, when it gets reviewed on the Xbox, you're going to notice the difference, like the amount of people reviewing PlayStation games versus Xbox games. There's such a disparity. It's really hard to take reviews at their word, or reviewers at their word, unless you know that they are legitimate. So you have to be really selective about the reviews you read. And the reviewers you follow and such. So, like, you'd always talk about this consistently. It's like Xbox might get one IGN person to review a game, and then PlayStation for the same game might get 6 IGN reviewing it. So it's so different, and the fact that the DualSense immersion is being taken into account. Yes, it can be taken into account, but there are so many gamers out there turning it off because it's actually a distraction. Sometimes a developer implements it well, but as you're saying, like Hellblade, like if you played without headphones, that immersion in the game was so different. You weren't getting that full immersion from the game. So yes, headsets should be taken into account if you're going to bring controllers into account and why you're reviewing it so differently when it's the same game on either system. Same game. Why is there such a big difference between the Metacritic scores? Who knows? All right. We have talked about this. We did talk about the rumored studio acquisitions at the beginning of the podcast. But yes, people are saying that there's rumors that it's going to be out on news out on Monday. Fingers crossed that's true. I would love that these acquisitions get announced on Monday.
I think they'll hold out to, as I said, I think to Good Box
Tokyo Game Show.
Not Tokyo. I honestly think Tokyo Game Show is going to be reserved for Xbox to promote Xbox in Japan. And I think they're I think people are going to be hoping for a lot actually now from Tokyo Game Show. I think they might show some stuff that might appeal to them, but I don't think they'll announce anything new. They might show stuff like, I would be surprised if they possibly show Hellblade 2 for some reason to them. I don't know if I'm sure they'd be interested in that. But I would be surprised if they show Halo Infinite to them, or just do reveal more about Halo Infinite, just to draw the Japanese market in. Because remember, the Japanese market will be very interested in xCloud and the mobile gaming, and that's something Halo Infinite will specialise in. So I think that's the market they're trying to push for Tokyo, is the more their mobile market, sort of the next cloud and stuff like that. So it'd be more games, So I think circle around that. Game of the year though is where I think we might see the acquisition, just like I did with Hellblade in 2020, was it, or 2019? And they announced the Xbox Series X, they announced the Xbox Series, and Jeff didn't have a clue about it, did he?
I reckon they're gonna show a game that none of us know is around.
That's what I think
that.
I
hope so.
I think they're going to do an acquisition that Jeff don't know about, and it makes him upset, and he starts crying in the corner and goes into the fetus position, and they'll do the these big giant trains on the other year on, and I think they'll show a new game as well, like they did with that year where they showed Hellblade 2, and I think that'll be it. They might even show Hellblade 2 gameplay again. Might even do that 2 years later. So that's what we. But anyway, moving on to our last topic.
Well, before we do that, Wild Horses said does anyone here think that Microsoft needs a superhero game? Honestly, who cares?
Yeah.
No, we do not need a superhero game. Do you know how many games are coming to Xbox now? This is, like, the fact that this is a conversation point on Twitter irks me to death that this is a conversation point on Twitter. Yeah. Xbox doesn't really need a superhero game. They have so many games coming that there's no room for a superhero game at this point. Maybe later on in the future there will be, but if you want to play a superhero game, PC, where to go, mate? PC is where to go. There's only one game that I'd probably want as a superhero game, and I don't think we're going to be seeing it anytime soon. But yeah, we'll leave it there, and I'll just sit it there. I just don't think we need a superhero game. Do you think we need a superhero game?
I don't think you need anything. Xbox covers pretty much everything. I think to just chase Sony because sadly they've bought Insomniac, and Insomniac used to make loads of different kind of games, and since buying them, they've obviously just pinned them down to only making superhero games. So I feel a bit sorry for Insomniac. Which are all going to be copy paste. Yeah, and you know Halo. Wolverine, it's just going to be a copy paste of Spider-Man. It's just going to be because they're just using the Batman mechanics, aren't they? That's what Spider-Man was using, the Batman mechanics from Batman games. And Wolverine's going to be exactly the same. And they're just going to copy paste the same mechanics. That's how they're going to churn these games out. Copy paste the same mechanics across the games. Probably the same maps, but just slightly altered. But and I feel sorry for Insomniac Games actually that they're just being forced to just produce the same games.
There's not enough evidence to support more superhero games coming out unless they're done right. Like PlayStation with Insomniac did a great job with Spider-Man. So you can assume that they're going to do a great job with Wolverine. But there has been a long history of superhero games done by many different developers over the years that have been utter rubbish.
Yeah. And I just want to say, because a lot of the fanboys are saying we're calling Bethesda games trash, everything they come out with trash, bugged, ruined, trash, terrible. I just want, as I said on Twitter, my reply to that was that you're hyping up Insomniac and all their Spider-Man games, but Deathloop just dropped and it rated above all the Spider-Man games. It rated above Spider-Man 2018, it rated above Spider-Man Miles Morales. So if you're going to cap for Insomniac, just bear in mind that Bethesda just dropped a casual Deathloop game on the side, and it already rated above Insomniac's best games. So, what are you gonna do? Actually, Psychonauts, which is pretty much half of it was crowdfunded, also rated the same as Spider-Man 2018.
I think it's.
And rated
sitting
above,
higher now?
Yeah, and rated above Spider-Man Miles Morales. So they give him Insomniac way too much credit here, But I would like to see a superhero game because I like superheroes like the next person. But I would like to go something more darker and deeper. I'd like to see something like go off a tangent off. Like I'd like to see a Punisher game or a Spawn game or. or a Judge Dredd game. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see Xbox go a completely different angle, stop throwing the Marvel stuff, other than Punisher, but I'd like to see them take on a Spawn game or a Judge Dredd game. I think that'd be good.
Something a bit more gritty?
A bit more
I
gritty, a bit more darker. Yeah. Give it to Coalition. Yeah, Coalition. Make us a Judge Dredd game. Make us a Spawn game. Like to see something like that.
Rocksteady did kill it with Batman there. Wild Horse. Yeah, they did amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Much better, something like that, than Happy-Go-Lucky Spider-Man. Which the Wolverine's going to be the same, Happy-Go-Lucky. Because that's what people put out from the trailer. They said, if you look at the bodies on the ground, there's no blood. There's bodies on the ground and it looks fantastic. But if you look at there's actually no blood. There's no bodies, limbs removed or anything. There's actually no gore there whatsoever. And then they think it's going to be sort of pretty PG rated, sort of like Spider-Man.
CGI. So we're not even going to know what that game looks like anytime soon. So
no, it's already one game of the year. It's one game of the year already. You know what I heard? Wolverine's already one game of the year.
One game of the year and it hasn't even released.
Yeah.
All right, last topic, which you have to talk to because I know very little about this. I know of it, but I still don't know much about it.
I was thinking about this. Probably Wild Horses or any of you guys on Twitter, you're going to know about this. Here we go. You ready for this? I'm just going to say the words. Pegasus Nation. Yeah, baby. who was we
Pegasus Nation.
Pegasus Nation. Dude. Yeah. The official cult of Sony. Pegasus Nation. Yeah, so I don't know if you know. So you've got some PlayStation elitists, self-proclaimed, I should say self-proclaimed PlayStation elitists, have made a website called Pegasus Nation where they're devoted to Sony and everything PlayStation, and their job is to eradicate anything associated with anything else to do with gaming other than Sony and PlayStation. That is their order. That is their cause. They've even got like a weird oath and stuff like that. Fratanka done it in a recent video and read the oath. I'm gonna do a video on it soon because I need to take some time to put this video together because I really want to destroy them. It's awful. It is cringeworthy. But basically, made a video on them. And they've even got titles. They're called elementals. So I've looked at this. So each of them, so Putrock is lead elemental, and then going down you've got elementals. They've all elemental names and their ranks, and they've got sort of a profile, what their job is. Like one guy's might be a job to troll play Xbox gamers, and they've just got a set of rules, and it is just really weird and cringy, and it just proves that PlayStation fanboys are a cult. If that doesn't prove cultism behaviour, I don't know what does. And have you not heard anything about Pegasus Nation then?
I heard a little bit about it. I mean, Tim Dog made the joke saying Microsoft is acquiring Pegasus Nation.
I think Daddy Gamer did a video on it as well, Daddy Gamer, which they actually showed on their Daddy Gamer. I think his name's Daddy Gamer. I think he was taking the piss out of them and he was being sarcastic. But they actually put it on their website and showed him celebrating it. But I think he was actually taking the piss.
Why has this come about? Are they just rebranding their Sony pony fandom that they are? Like, I mean, putting wings on a horse or a pony is not going to make much of a difference. Obviously, if they're flying, there's less oxygen up there, so they're less likely to use their brains. But yeah, that's just me being cheeky. But yeah, like I don't understand why this is a thing. Like what brought this on? Like what part of their community felt like it was a great idea to make another subset of their community and make it super elite, and now we have to call them Pegasus Nation. Pegasus Nation. You're still going to be Sony ponies as far as we're concerned. We're going to keep clipping your wings because you guys are illogical.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I did, obviously, because I think it needs to be known, that I went on Twitter, and when I found out about Pegasus Nation, I approached the leaders of Pegasus Nation and tweeted them. I sent a message on Twitter, not to DM. I actually made a message on Twitter. And, actually, when you just include people into the chat, retweet what it's called, and just remind them that if they're aware of the copyright rules, because there is actually a Pegasus Nation delivery company in America, and it's actually called Pegasus Nation, and it's a delivery company in America. and
Delivering
they're pretty much,
PlayStation 5s to no one. The
and
scalpers.
and they're using the same name and almost the same logo as this company called Pegasus Nation. That's like a different company. So I said, I think you might want to check your. I was wrote to them, you just might want to check your copyright laws and stuff. I think you might be infringing on this company that actually exists, and they're not fanboys like you. They're actually a proper company. So.
With that, what do you guys think about this Pegasus Nation? Have you guys had a good laugh at it? Because I definitely have. Some of the memes coming out are hilarious. We aren't changing our names as a community. There's no point. Like, why rebrand ourselves? We're already happy that we're Xbox gamers. We already know what we're getting. We don't have to feel like an elite club. We go to where our people are. We go to the YouTube channels, the podcast. We go follow those people, and we support each other as a community. This just feels like another way to kind of leave people out and such. Because I mean, leaving people out, like PlayStation 5 gamers don't really care if PlayStation 4 gamers don't get access to a game or anything like that, or they get a worse version. They just don't care, because as far as they're concerned, they're on PS5 now. Everything that's not a PS5 is beneath them. So that talks to you about their community. So that also shows you that Pegasus Nation is probably going to be something similar, unless they can actively prove that they're not that, and they're not. Why have it?
Looking at the site, I wouldn't be surprised if they just want to attract the people that are in it, like Pewter Rock and people like that. I wouldn't be surprised if what they want to do is attract their fan base into it. Get all their... Because they've all got a big community, a big fan base. Get them all in. And then, I honestly think this is their plan, to then start charging those people for something. So some subscription for something or other. For whatever reason, they will start charging them. And then you get all these fanboys all jumping in the Pegasus Nation. Yeah, we're a unity, we're a group. Yada, yada, yada. And then I think there's seven of them will be like, yeah, donate us money. Give us £5 a month each of you, and then we'll promote Sony and that. And these idiots will be like, yeah, take my money, just like Sony does to them, basically. Take my money, yeah, Sony. And they'll be just laughing like everything else. And it's ridiculous. I honestly see that happening. I honestly see that's what's going to happen. They will just, they're using it just to rake money off their own subscribers.
I think toxicity breeds toxicity, and if they're only going to Pegasus Nation to kind of interact with the toxic people in the first place, they're going to become toxic as a result. You need to kind of look at everything from an objective point of view, understand, do your research, and you can say do your research till you're blue in the face, but if you're only getting your information from one source and that source is toxic and skewed, then your opinions will be toxic and skewed. Like, I tend to watch many different podcasts, get many different points of views, and make sure I have a well-informed opinion of what I want and who I am as a gamer and what community represents myself. Like, this doesn't feel... It feels like it's the next step, moving from the Sony ponydom that they are. This is the toxicity part of it, and moving to the next step as an upgrade. You're probably right, they might end up charging later on, but I still... They probably just want a safe place where they can, like, be toxic, trash Xbox, where Xbox can't get involved in that regard. And that's just stupid. Have an open conversation with each other. Learn that we are all gamers at the end of the day. All Xbox gamers do is pull apart your narratives because they're stupid. Because they're the hypocrisy on them. They aren't based on facts or logic. They're based on ridiculousness. And yes, there are part of our community, that Xbox community, that is toxic. With any community.
Every community has toxic
try
players.
Not to overly give them a voice.
I think only 20% of our community, Xbox community, is toxic. Whereas their community, it just seems like 80%. The majority of them. Yeah, the majority of them are toxic and weird. Like. And just weird, mentally weird.
I love that. They don't have anything else to do. Like, I play Gears 5 Horde for hours. They can't game like that. Yeah, they can't. They might get a 5-hour game out of, and then it's one and done, and then they're stuck playing other games, but they don't really have games to play at the moment,
No,
which is
no,
sad.
no, no. Obviously, you're missing the point. What they do is they have to platinum their games. That's what they have to complete the games and then get every achievement, and that is their version of just enjoying the game. Is that they have to get every achievement, platinum it, and then once they've done that, they have to do it again. Yeah, I've done it again. I've platinumed it twice. Why have you done that? Because there's nothing else to play. There's nothing else to play. That's why you have to keep platinum the same game over and over because you've got nothing else to play.
Get a PC, get a handheld,
Yeah.
get an Xbox. Do something, because if you're only playing within one ecosystem, you're making yourself toxic. I play on PC, I play on Xbox, I play on my Nintendo. At this point, as we discussed earlier, I'm not getting a PlayStation anytime soon until they can actively prove that it's worth buying.
Yeah.
And I meant the actual system is worth buying, not the software, the actual system. But yeah, I think this is stupid. To each their own. Like, glad you guys are coming together to create a place where you guys feel safe to be toxic. But how is this going to change anything in our community? You're just making it worse.
Yeah. Well, I think on that note,
We're done.
We're
I think
done.
that's everything.
We've
yeah.
covered everything.
Thank you everyone for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking for quite a while. Thank you everyone for joining us. We have talked about a lot of things today. The rumoured acquisitions, the Digital Foundry and Gaming Nexus video, Deathloop, toxic fanboys, as per usual, because that is always a topic.
Please go back to the beginning and listen to it, because we covered quite a lot of subjects and talked quite a lot of nonsense. Is that
we did. Yeah, we talked a lot of nonsense, as per usual. You and I go off on rants.
We talk about we do go on rants. We talk a lot of gaming. But we do talk about games to play. We talk a lot of gaming and stuff like that. So we're not just solely
Yeah. But yeah, please like, subscribe, share it out, whatever you guys need to do. Comment. Love a good comment. Love engaging with you guys in the live chat. Now we're doing live. Thank you everyone for joining us, and really appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yeah, we do. We love you all for tuning in. We really appreciate it very much. I want to get up to 1,000 subscribers so we can start. I've always wanted to just start giving out gifts. I really want to give out stuff, so I'm trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers just so I can start just getting out stuff. So that is my plan, because we tried that previously, didn't we? I'll give out Game Pass.
We're going to try and get a guest on for next week. We're going to see how that works, obviously time zone permitting. But yeah, next week. It should be same day next week, right? Are we doing it my Saturday, your Friday?
So, do my Friday evening, your Saturday morning?
I don't know yet. We'll discuss, because we have to sort it out with the guest.
Because we was also Astray Gaming wants to join us. But then also FC Violent wants to join us as well. So it's trying to cram everyone in, and everyone's in different times or time zones. So please join us next week. We'll try to do Friday. It'd be good if we get a sort of set time, isn't it? I think the only problem this time is I think Rand does his show at the same time. So but we'll try to get a casual time going. Let you know, keep you updated. Thank you for watching. Please sub, share, and subscribe.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.